Hello and welcome to the Coaching Podcast, Coaching for Success in Sport and Business. Your host is Emma Doyle, the energy and high performance under pressure coach who is a world leader in unleashing human potential. Buckle up for this high octane session. Let them have it, coach.
G'day, everybody, and welcome to the Coaching Podcast. I have the pleasure today of interviewing Bob Carrothers, who is a Vistage Chair here in Denver, Colorado. Now, Bob, I'm so grateful you gave me my first opportunity to be a Vistage speaker, and I am forever grateful. So straight away, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you. This is a pleasure, and I lucked out when I found you to speak because you're becoming one of the best.
I appreciate that so much. And for those of you who don't know much about Vistage, it's a global organization, and Bob is really dedicated to partnering in your leadership growth. He's been a part of Vistage Worldwide for many, many years. I don't even know how many, but he certainly leads peer-to-peer boards where CEOs and executives enhance their skills, making informed decisions. I love that Bob is not just a coach. I call him Wisdom Bob. He's a mentor, guide, and advocate dedicated to shaping the future of leadership, one CEO at a time. So based on that, Bob, I'm going to start with my pattern break question for you, and that is, do you prefer to talk or text?
Talk.
I thought I knew the answer to that, but you can never make assumptions. And
Right.
You and I were both at the Executive Vistage Leadership Summit actually this week, and one of the talks was around the fact that 5 generations for the first time ever are sitting side by side in the one workplace. And one thing that hit me was we don't make assumptions. We just ask these beautiful open-ended questions, right? So
Right.
while I assumed, right, that you might say talk, it's a classic example of just ask the question with regards to one of the things that I got out of that presentation around generational differences. So let's go there first. What are some of the ways that you, as a Vistage Chair, as a coach, do you adapt who you are to be able to connect with different generations of members in your groups?
I have millennials, I have a Zer, I have lots of boomers, and I have mainly Xers, X generation. And so it's fabulous because we get way different points of view. And our Zer is always ready to speak up and give us ideas, and he's always giving us apps to use, and he's bringing us into the real world.
I love that. I think that it is important to give them a voice. And as you just said there, diversity. One of the stats that hit me during that presentation was when you have more than, I believe it was 25 years in an age bracket difference,
Right.
there was 73% more productivity because of the diversity of opinions. What about, Bob, have you ever come across a CEO or company owner who is reluctant to change and reluctant to, and how do you deal with that as a coach?
Yeah, over the years, many times. And how do I deal with that? You're probably not going to change them if they're that set in their ways. But I think I can help them how to understand how what they're doing is affecting their company's productivity and their retention rate and other things. And then they can decide for themselves if they need to change. So we'll explore those areas where it really makes a difference and talk about them. And I'll ask a lot of questions, open-ended, and we'll have a great conversation.
Yeah.
And over time, it might work.
Well, let's go there. Over time, company culture, I know you're passionate about exploring that with your leaders. Do you think culture can change overnight?
No, no, it takes years to change a culture. I just watched one blow a company kind of. One of my members was the CEO of a company that was purchased by a private equity firm, a PE firm, and their cultures were so opposed. It was incredible. My member's company, when she ran it, was very collegial. They were slow to hire. They just built a culture of working together. It was a big franchisor, and so they had to have the culture of working together with the franchisees and keep people happy. And the PE firm came in, and their culture was making money. To hell with the people, and it just was in fact, it still is. It was a major disaster. My member ended up getting fired, and because they didn't think she moved fast enough, so they lost all of the management team in 6 months.
So, what do you believe makes a great company culture?
Core values to start with, and adhering to core values. People break a core value, it's fireable offense. I also think it's communication, 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 you know, talking about the culture, not just having those core values on the wall where nobody looks at them and nobody knows what they are. You have to live by them. And I think you have to really pound it home that this is what we believe in. This is why we're in business. This is what we're doing, and this is the way we're going to do it. And I think people either love that or they hate that. And normally the ones that hate it will flush themselves out.
So, I love that answer, by the way. And also, just to my favorite definition of a coaching culture
Mhm.
equals your
Mhm.
company's artifacts. So, exactly what you just said, vision, mission, values,
Right.
plus coaching skills equals a coaching culture.
It
So,
does.
yeah,
You know, if somebody's having trouble, you have to coach them into towing the line, and becoming better at it, and helping them coach others on how to be able to enforce the culture.
yeah. And I was speaking to a millennial the other day who had a performance review, that once a year performance review, and it did not go well. And leadership was unable to give him tangible feedback on behaviors that they were wanting him to change. One of the things I got out of our executive leadership summit that we went to was the fact that feedback needs to be ongoing conversations
That's
rather
exactly
than a once a year performance review.
right.
And yeah, so I just, which brings me to this concept of creating great leaders
Hmm.
who create great companies. I know you talk a lot about that. So my question to you is, well, I want to know what makes a great leader. And do you think great leaders follow first and lead second, or do they lead first and follow second?
I think great leaders are the ones that have a definite vision of where they're going to go, and they can convey that to their employees in such a way that the employees believe in it, and they pull the leader towards that vision rather than him trying to push people towards that vision.
Mm.
It's all it's like everybody's got to be in the same boat, pulling the same way. It's the right people on the bus and in the right seats, but they also have to know where they're going. If you had a bunch of people in a bunch of rowboats and they were out in the sea and these were all your employees, and you said, "Oh, we want to be 150 million in 10 years," great vision. But if you turn them loose, all those rowboats are going to be rowing in different directions. And so you have to have such a vision that is so strong that they are crystal clear on what it is, what the time frames are, so they can have all their rowboats going in the same direction at the same time. Leadership is extremely difficult. Nobody's a born leader. Some people have more charisma or other areas that might help them be a leader, but leadership has to be learned. First off, a leader's got to be able to see the future. A lot of people can't see beyond this week or this day on where they're going and what they should be doing. So a leader has to be able to see out 4 or 5 years to know what that vision is, see it in their minds, and constantly talk about it. True leaders that I see know how to reward their employees, make them feel special. Um, they have mentors through the company that work with the other employees. They have, and those mentors do coaching. Um, and they never stop making it crystal clear on where they're going to go and by when and what's needed for that. What are the different things? And that's where the top management comes together to work on those things to see how they can reach that end goal. So leadership has to go through the entire company. It's not just one guy or one woman leading the company.
So, why do you think delegation is so hard for some people?
I don't know. I think people are afraid of pissing people off and not being liked. You know, you got to have accountability. Delegation is all about accountability, but people have to give instructions so that they're crystal clear. If you say, I want you to bring me that report by, the end of the week next week. Okay, so what does that mean? They bring it to you on Friday morning. They bring it to you late Friday night. They don't bring it until the following week. They think, well, it's, Monday's close enough. And it just doesn't work that way. So then you have to have a difficult conversation. And it shouldn't have to be difficult. It's simply, okay, you didn't get me on time. I'll be crystal clear on this. I need this report on these things by next Friday at 4 p.m. and hold them accountable to that. And say, do you have any questions? Repeat back what I'm asking. Can I count on you for that? That's not a difficult conversation. That's just making it crystal clear. And if you do that with all your delegation and it becomes the way that company acts, people don't miss their deadlines. They become very accountable.
Which comes back to your whole philosophy on communication, communication, communication. And what we're talking about on this show is continuous communication. I think that is important to be able to work with all generations. So I really love where we're going so far. Let's talk about Vistage and your groups. So, Bob, what is Vistage?
Vistage is an international corporation. We have 45,000 members worldwide. We're in 35 countries. So we're everywhere. So if you're listening to this and you're in Malta, we have Vistage groups in Malta. And so reach out to vistage.com and they will put you in touch with a chair there. When I started with Vistage, we were about, I guess, 600, maybe 600 to 900 members. And now we're at 45,000. So it's a concept that works. Everybody needs coaching. Everybody can benefit from the peer group information and the speakers. And it doesn't matter which language you speak, which religion you practice. It doesn't matter. If you're in business, you need this.
Yeah.
So that's why we exist.
And it's great to have all the different independent perspectives as well from people from different companies. I'm about to do a presentation for 10 different companies coming together to cross collaborate. And I think that's a really cool thing about Vistage as well. So, all right. And now let's talk about the benefits of Vistage.
Well, if they're in a group, they're going to make better decisions. They're going to be better leaders and they're going to get better results. That's kind of our tagline. But it's true. It's true. I do coaching. I'll do a 90-minute to 2-hour session every month with each of my CEO leaders. In those sessions, we go to very deep levels with each other. I am very blessed to be allowed into those areas with my members. Then the mainstay of Vistage is once a month we have a meeting for an entire day where we'll bring in an outside speaker like you, Emma, that imparts their knowledge to the group, and it's just for that small group of people. Like you're a big time what do I call it? Major speaking events. You talk at major speaking events with maybe 400 or 1,000 people in the audience. Then you would get on a plane and you'd be back at my group with 15 of us and talking to just us, where it was very interactive. We could ask questions. You could really delve into the subject deeply. In the afternoon, the group members have a chance to throw out topics they'd like input on. It's anything. I mean, I've seen them on divorce. I've seen them on, one of the major ones now is how to find people and how to retain people. Subjects on hiring and firing, whatever. They can throw it out and explain what they're thinking. Then the group will ask a lot of questions. And then at the end of the questions, we'll go around the room and they'll share their thoughts and experiences with that member. So it'll either verify their thinking or it might turn them in a completely different direction, which makes them make a better decision. They get better results, They may not lose that $300,000 they were about to invest. Or by just tweaking it a little bit or approaching it in a different way, make that $300,000. I've seen it many times. We'll have a topic and they'll say to me afterwards, they'll say to the group, well, that just paid for my Vistage dues for the next 20 years. And it's so true. So they get the benefit of many minds working on their problem rather than just them. They also don't feel so lonely. Many of the CEOs that come into my group the first day, they'll say, I thought I was the only one that felt this way. And by having those discussions with the people that are walking that talk, it really sets them at ease and makes them more effective. So there's all kinds of benefits to that. And then in addition to that, we have a huge website with tons of knowledge on it. And it's just, it's incredible how it works. I've been doing this 28 years and I've watched so many success stories and very few, I mean, like 3 bad stories come out of being on the group. Not that the group was bad, it's just that they couldn't pull their company. It was in dire straits. They couldn't pull it out. The group has helped members walk through bankruptcy and recover and become very successful. So they've got experience with that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I look, this is my first year as a Vistage speaker, and I've absolutely loved the journey meeting the chairs because they all do come from a coaching lens cap. with my topics around leader as coach. So it's a really nice fit, the people I've met and the groups who are open to creating coaching cultures in the workplace. I think it just goes hand in hand with what we said earlier about the 5 generations sitting side by side. If you don't have a coaching culture and curious managers, etc., then you really are going to be in trouble in the future, if not already. So, which brings me to, in 1 to a maximum of 3 words, what do you think makes a great coach?
Listening skills, curiosity, and being very comfortable with what you hear, because you never know what's going to come up. There should be no judgment in those discussions whatsoever.
So how
just ask questions.
So listening, curiosity, and being comfortable. We all have subconscious bias.
Right.
And sometimes in the workplace, that's what gets in the way and can create conflict. So, Bob, how would you support your leaders in this situation?
I want to help them examine their biases and their attitude. And that's just by asking questions and listening and having that discussion. And I try to help them. Well, I help them, I know, see different ways to look at it. During this election, it's been a little difficult, but just it's about changing their thoughts, and bringing it back to how's that affecting you as being a leader? How's that affecting your company? How much money could that be costing you? Go home and think about it, and let's talk again. It's a lot of those kind of conversations.
Yeah. Listening, curiosity, all part of that supporting process of the leader. So tell me, what disruptive idea do you have that will change the coaching landscape in 2030?
Well, according to our economists, the Vistage economists, 2030, we're going to fall off a cliff in the economy. Until 2036, he named it. He was very specific. With the bad economies, in part of the problem is all the healthcare costs with my generation, and it's I think it's almost bigger than the debt service. And in 2036, most of us will be dead, so that ought to just kind of go away. Yeah, I thought that was funny. But coaching, it's presumably they've been doing the right things to prepare. And if they have been, it's now, how do you take advantage of this problem? It's always, where do you see the opportunities? It's never a disaster. There's opportunities in everything. And I've seen members go into the pandemic and come out stronger than they've ever been. They made more money during the pandemic because they looked at how they needed to change. I guess the big word now is how they needed to pivot to survive it. And several of them came out with new product lines, with new services, and just a whole new attitude. Plus, people started working at home. That took a lot of expense out of the office. If their leases were up. If not, then they're paying for an empty space for quite a while.
Yeah.
But it's, okay, sublease the space. What's the opportunity there? You've just got to be really positive, look for the opportunity, and we're kind of cutthroat in my group. It's, how do we put our competition out of business? This is a great opportunity for us to come out the winner in this thing, the strongest company in our field. I have a construction company in Denver, And they went in with that attitude. And at the end of the big crash or the dip, like in 2000, 2007 through 2011, I think it was, they came out stronger than ever. And the group helped them do that. In the pandemic, we all came together and started meeting once a month on a Zoom call just to be there and help each other with all the little blips that were happening. So that was coaching, great coaching. And that's how we approach things. And that's not just me, that's how the group approaches it. And if 15 people are helping you see the opportunities, that can be pretty powerful.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of power in peer coaching, group coaching.
Right.
I definitely subscribe to all of that. So I call you Wisdom Bob, and even in this episode, maybe some people might have picked up on the fact that he removed the word try, like Yoda. So from the Yoda lens cap, so tell me, what is your best advice for coaches out there from all your years of wisdom working with these leaders? What are your top 3 tips for coaches?
Be curious. That's the main one. Ask great questions. Listen deeply so that you can hear what's being said. And it's not verbally most of the time. It's body language. It's the way their eyes look, the way they grimace at something. So you have to be really intently looking at that whole picture, and then I love my members. I just care about them deeply. And when you have that going on for you, you're gonna help that person become wildly successful.
Yeah, well, that's what the people say about you as well, Bob. So you walk your talk, because when I speak about you, and that's the way that they say that you care, and caring is displayed in the curious, open-ended questions. So thank you for sharing that. So finally, your daughter I had the opportunity to meet her, and she's looking at becoming a chair and starting her own group. So tell me about, where does her love of coaching come from? Was it your influence, or just tell me a little bit about your relationship there?
No, I had nothing to do with it. She's been on this path since she was 15 years old. She went to a camp in the summer called Super Camp, for kids, to help kids that were having problems in school. She had test anxiety, so she could go into a test having the subject down cold and make a 35 on the test because she was so nervous and worried. So one of our speakers in Vistage said, well, she ought to go to Super Camp. And that's how we heard about it. And so we looked into it, and it looked like the right thing, and we sent her off, and she came back a changed person. She just, I mean, the first few days she'd call us every day and say, what'd you do this to me for? This is awful. I want to come home. And then we never heard from her again for the rest of the 2 weeks. And she fell in love with it. So she worked with them for 3 or 4 years doing coaching in their programs of kids. And that's where she gained her love of coaching. And then she got she got contracted by SC Johnson to travel the world and do training and coaching with their people. And she did that for a few years. And so we can just stop there. She's just got a love of coaching. It's in her. And she's way better than I am. So it's because I let her coach me. She's my coach. And she just loves it.
That's awesome. Well, if you are listening to this, you're a leader, manager, executive here in Colorado, please reach out to Bob Carrothers, one of my favorite Vistage chairs, my first Vistage chair. So you're in my heart. and his daughter starting up her own group here in Colorado as well. Please reach out, check out vistage.com. It's a great organization doing amazing things, and I'm excited to be a part of the journey, just starting out, as we mentioned, but already have had such a great experience with the members and especially with the chairs. So, Bob, what you're a 6-time award-winning master chair, chair of chairs. So, what do you think makes a great chair?
Caring about their members. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. When you do that, you're going to give your best.
Yeah. And giving anything a go. We did catch up for coffee the other day, and Bob, he put Vegemite on his toast. I'm very proud of the fact that he's exploring his comfort zone with vision. And I love how you were talking about pull people along with you as a leader, not push your agenda onto them. And I've just loved listening with curiosity and being comfortable with what you heard. That's one thing as well. After my first speaking, you said, Emma, sit back and listen to the feedback. You pulled me up on that because sometimes as well, even if someone's saying something positive, we want to go straight to, how can I get better? How can I improve? And it's okay sometimes to listen to the good stuff as well. I think that's an important trait. Any final words on that comment?
Like I said, it's listening. And that's your superpower if you're a coach.
Yeah.
Like to say is if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn pretty easy.
Yeah.
Just send me a message and I'll get back to you.
Yep. He certainly will. He certainly does. He's authentic and he follows through. We love that. So, Bob, thank you so much for being on the Coaching Podcast.
Well,
Sound
thanks,
good?
Coach M. I
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Wisdom, Bob. You're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
The Coaching Podcast is sponsored by Transition Coach for Athletes, a global coaching, mentoring, and U.S. college sporting scholarship placement service. The service helps athletes navigate the often challenging world of choosing your best college fit while maximizing sports performance. Visit www.transitioncoachforathletes.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating review on your podcast listening device. And don't forget to tell a fellow coach about the show. The ball is in your court to take action and enjoy your coaching.